I've got my amazing friend here. Let me introduce, Garrett Gunderson. I mean, he is a founder of Inc. 500 firm, author of the New York Times hit Killing Sacred Cows, and multiple Wall Street Journal best-selling books. I mean, look, I could go in and like I told Garrett, his team sent me this amazing kind of, going through coming from a fourth generation coal mining family to 20 years in the industry, financial industry, and now this dude is running comedy. So instead of me trying to read through, I mean, I think the last thing everyone wants to hear be on here for, Garrett, is to be able to hear me talk about you. Let's just talk about what you're up to these days.
Well, let me tell you this. Like my wife had a client that asked my wife to speak at her event.
Okay.
Right. My wife was a teacher, and then been raising kids, but she got to speak, so she didn't have a bio. And she's like, "Hey, what do I do about this bio?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I'll write one." So I wrote her 2 bios, one that was too filthy and dirty to ever have in public, and then another one that was like, I did this like the law of contrast, like the Cialdini thing. I'm like, she'll never use this one, but if she sees that one, I put one that's mildly like, and then she used it. So I wrote her bio. But I thought if she wrote my bio, she could write all the shit that I've done that is stupid. Like, not the, oh, look at how great he is. She'll be like, yeah, let me tell you this story, and that's my kid's favorite pastime, is my wife telling stories about when I've done dumb shit.
I'm going to tell you, like, honestly, everyone listening in right now, you should, if it's Garrett's wife writing your bios, this is one of the best ones. I mean, like, because it finishes off. If you're ready to transform your life, finances, and future, today's guest will help you do just that. It's time we all laugh at money's expense for a change, right? Like, I'm going to tell you right now, my bio doesn't have an ending line. They just go through and read it, and then it kind of stops, and they've kind of got to put their own twist. Like, you've already set me up for success, which makes it better for everybody. So tell your wife thank you.
Yeah, man.
But dude, I mean, like, you and I have known each other for so many years. I mean, like, so many people go in, we hear about, Garrett, man, if you want to be able to go in, the money guy, there's the finances to be able to go in and be able to go through, and like, it's money, money, money. And that's what I've always known about you, killing sacred cows, right? To be able to go through these things. Oh man, look at this guy that's done this stuff. But like, most of us just know you as, Jesus, it's like
money Jesus. Although money. I'm more like Utah Jesus or Disney Jesus, man. Like, I'm like barista Jesus if I pull my hair back like this and just spell my name differently.
Well, when we first met originally, I believe I had my long hair too.
So, you did. Yeah, you did. You had long hair and like a lumberjack shirt on, like a stylish one, of course. But
there we go. I try to be, I live in Austin, Texas. So, I've got to kind of try and be trendy, but not trendy at the same time. It's super fun. But dude, like, let's just get into it. I mean, like, your background first, before I tell everyone what you're doing right now, let's talk about what you've been doing over the last like 15, 20 years, because I think it's really, really important, because you're not trying to, people would kind of go in, Garrett, and they go, oh, well, man, he's totally forgot what he was doing. I think it's actually 100% part because you're trying to shift perspective based on what you've done and to be able to make it more relevant in today's world.
Look, man, in June of 1998, I started out in finance. And the way that I started in finance was by trying to be as technical and learn as much terminology as possible to confuse the shit out of people. So they'd be like, oh, look at this little Doogie Howser of finance. And for the people who are too young for that reference, like this little financial Einstein, oh shit, that's even older. But it's like, hey, look at all that he knows. We're just gonna have to hand him our money because I don't understand what he's talking about.
Right.
And so the problem is that's not empowering at all. And yeah, I could do the transactions, but people were always a little concerned, like, are we doing well? Are we not doing well? And so I remember I spoke at this event that we hosted in like 2003, and there was a lot of people. And my buddy Phil Tyrone comes to the event, and at the end he goes, hey man, would you like these people to do something because of this? Because we didn't know what we're doing. We're just teaching, and we're not offering any like way to engage with us. And so he hooks me up with this guy, Roberto Monaco, starts working on me with my speaking. I start to speak in a better way. And I remember the first time he watched me speak, it was in Costa Mesa, and we watched the recording. It was painful. I was dry. I was boring. I was nervous. I was in my head. It wasn't good. It was painful.
But that's the industry as a whole, right? I mean, like, for the most part.
But then he flew out and spent a day with me. And then my buddy Garrett White and I did an event that night, and we just brought down the house with his coaching for the day.
Right.
And so then I went to, I just kept evolving over time, like hiring. I went to like this thing called Bravo training, which was on speaking. I went and did Michael Port's A-lister event, and who's another speaker. So I just like, how can I communicate more effectively?
Right.
And what happened is I'd start telling jokes when I was doing stuff, and then people would remember that and they would talk about it. And I'm like, they're not remembering everything else, but they're remembering this. And so I went and spent a summer in Italy, and it gave me a lot of time to think. And when we came home, we're celebrating my birthday at a baseball game and a concert, and the baseball game's slow. So I'm telling my wife jokes, and she's like, those are kind of funny. Where did you get those from? I'm like, from my own brain. Like,
I was like, yeah, you get you're kind of funny from your wife. It's going to be definitely funny.
That's like someone else saying, I peed myself. You were so funny. My wife's like, you're kind of funny. I'm like, I'll take it. The door is open. And then Keith Yackey has me speak at his event a few days later.
Yeah, I remember.
And Keith is like, dude, you're effing hilarious. From stage, he goes, our next speaker's effing hilarious. One of the funniest dudes you're ever going to hear. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a financial speaker. So I just called my buddy who's a comedian and said, I want to start writing comedy that I can integrate into my speaking. And I want to start doing stand-up to become a better communicator. And it was a hobby until this guy, Barry Katz, sees me and he goes, hey, nobody's really led this thing in money through comedy. They've done it in politics and religion, which is supposed to be taboo, but what about money? So now I'm like, I could be the court jester of finance. And Josh, dude, like, no, I've sold 100,000 copies of Killing Sacred Cows, which is cool. But how many of those 100,000 copies got read? I don't know how many audiobooks I sold, but that's the physical copy of the book. I don't think a lot of people read that thing cover to cover. I mean, candidly, what, 3%? I don't know.
I wish I could say like I have it sitting on my shelf over here, and I mean I'm gonna be the asshole.
And there you are.
Like, I don't think I read the entire thing, and I'm sorry.
That's the deal.
I'm gonna say it now. I got to pick it up because it's like Garrett's coming over. He goes, "Oh man, no one's read my book." I'm like, "Okay, well, shit, I got to read it now."
But you know what? People will watch an entire hour of comedy.
They will.
All the time. And so I'm looking at how do I make sure to speak the language of the masses, which is entertainment. And entertainment can be the gateway to transformation. And people are supposed to remember 3 times more when they laugh or 3 times more when they're scared. So I figured instead of scaring the shit out of people, why not make them laugh so they could learn a lot more? And so, yes, I'm integrating all the financial knowledge. So the American Ream is the name of my special, has a heavy emphasis in money. Because I thought, how can I make this most difficult? Well, make it PG-13 instead of R. Make it money instead of a general topic. Do it during COVID on a tour. Like, I'm just really good at doing the hard shit, I guess, Josh. I don't know what I'm doing.
Dude, I mean, I love that because, I mean, as you kind of go through, this is the biggest thing that most marketers, everyone kind of goes through to do. They always do the scarcity sale, right? And that's what they believe drives people. Fear drives people. Well, fear that keeps people in place, or you have a smaller percentage that does move them forward. Most people love the fear that they're in because they understand the pain already that they're currently in. But like you said, with laughter, 100%. I mean, it would be a so much better world if ads were about making people happy and making them laugh and making them want to align with them rather than trying to always sell, especially on the financial industry. I mean, dude, this is where I'm hoping, and this is why I love you, is because like you're changing and shifting a perspective that can cause a ripple effect that can truly change the world we're in, because we have to be able to change how we actually help people, not by scarcity mindsets.
And look, man, scarcity is the greatest destroyer of wealth. No amount of luck, no amount of saving, no amount of discipline, no amount of rate of return, no financial advisor will save someone if they're stuck in scarcity. And when we started this, I was like, I showed you this tattoo, right? Because the way that what the tattoo means is we can face our pain with love and compassion. And on the other side is consciousness and connection. So I know a lot of people have money pain. They have a lot of like fear around it. They have a lot of concern and frustration. Some people are good at making it, terrible at keeping it. Other people keep every dollar they earn and never enjoy it. And so I look, and there's these like 4 money personas around that I've identified. And so it's funny, I finished my comedy set last night in DC, and I was like, hey, go to GarrettGunderson.com/quiz, figure out which money persona you are that is going to determine and dictate how you make your decisions and what the positive and negative sides of those are, so you can have a better financial life. Like, I'm here to help people heal with money. I'm here to help people put it in its proper place as a byproduct of value creation. And the key is when we have vision, like my vision is to plant a seed of hope, connection, and expression in the hearts of 1 billion people and restore love to humanity through entertainment using comedy as the key catalyst. Because I think comedy is the key when no other will do. Love is the answer, but can't always get through. I wrote that little poem one day and was like, yeah, that's the thing. And so my vision went from helping 1 million people over my lifetime to 1 billion. Now, they may never know who I am, but it may be that someone remembers what I say and they share it in a poignant moment. Or it means like, I don't know what happens with someone who employs a bunch of people because there's shifts for them. Or like so we had someone at the Tempe Improv bring 22 employees. And all of a sudden their employees are out there to have a good time laughing. Like last night, my nutritionist had a bunch of her team there because she's here in DC, and I'm signing books afterwards. People are like, can I buy a book? I'm like, no, you bought a comedy ticket. I'm just giving you a book because I want to make sure there's lasting impact. But we've got to start in a place where most people have a wall, where they're deaf to it and blind to it, and go, hey, now that the conversation's here, do you want some support? A quiz is an easy thing to do. Grab a book. Maybe they're more likely to read it after I make them laugh. I don't know. But there's resources.
Dude, I mean, and this is the kind of situation, this is why I always love you, because you're not just trying to go through and be like, all right, cool, this is where I'm at. I'm like, you've given me multiple different advice from the day I met, from talking about family. I remember the family credo that you had created, the crest and what you stand for. I mean, these are the things that, you didn't just come in, and we've all been around certain people, especially in the marketing, advertising industry that we work in and stuff like that. You're always having people pitch and be able to go through, and it's not leading with value, leading with heart. Like, I was telling you earlier, I said, man, like I was going through a couple rough weeks with the blood clot in my leg and things like that. You're like, why didn't you pick up the phone? But this is what we have to be able to change this perspective to. And when you're talking about like comedy, I mean, like your goal, I get it, is to be able to go through, like, other than to be able to create a change and shift in people's perspective around money, that's it. Whatever the byproduct that is, like you said, is what it is. But you're not letting the byproduct dictate what you're doing. So now I do know that you do have one specific goal, which is Netflix, correct?
Yeah. And so my manager, he shakes my hand and he goes, when we first meet, and he goes, hey, I feel it on my bones. You're going to have a special and we're going to get it on a streaming service. And I'm 22 for 22. And my wife is there and she goes, it's going to be awkward when you're 22 of 23. I mean, what a cold-blooded murderer she is. And I had to laugh because she's just messing. But yeah, part of the reason I'm doing the tour is to get this on Netflix. And the reason I want to get on Netflix is because that's where people are going to unintentionally get educated. They're going to be entertained first and foremost. And then it makes it where this can be more of a movement and more of emotion. But dude, my next special is going to be an NFT. So like, I'm not looking to become a famous comedian that just has content out there. I want to like reinvent the game. I want to change the game of money in a way that if we can laugh at it, if it's funny, then maybe we can learn from it. Maybe we can actually put it where it's supposed to belong, which is as a companion, not a solo artist. Like money is a great byproduct, but if it's your only goal, it becomes a blinder where we don't see people, where we stop connecting, where we trade our time for money, where we scrimp, save, sacrifice, and defer instead of find our purpose, where we don't find leisure as a worthy activity, where we always are addicted to doing more and in the hustle instead of like taking care of our health and our family. And look, I get when you have money, it's easier to say some of this shit. Like money's really important. People that say money's unimportant probably don't have much, because who needs a bunch of unimportant stuff lying around? I think it's important. It's just that it is not the most important. It is part of how we utilize other people's skill sets and how we exchange. It's a man-made efficient tool, right? It's a storage of value, but it's not why we're valuable. And it doesn't dictate what we're capable of doing, our potential, or what our destiny is. But it definitely allows us to exchange and to serve and to solve problems and to tap into people's abilities. And so if we can start having it be in its proper place, we could be human again, and we can connect deeply, and we can lead with love instead of with fear. And instead of like, selling out who we are for money, which unfortunately happens all the time. It's why we have most of the problems we have in the world, is because most people's freedom ends where their fear begins. And I'm here to say, like, there's no reason to fear money. It's not as complicated as we think. We've been sold that it's complicated so that we're held into this captive trading time for money to make a better life for someone else at the expense of ourselves. So not that I'm passionate about it, not that I give a shit, but yeah.
Couldn't guess, man. I mean, dude, this is why, I mean, like, think about everyone watching right now. I mean, like, Garrett just went through and so eloquently just stated massive facts that some people struggle to be able to talk about and can't even articulate in that type of fashion. Now add that into a comedy routine.
Yeah, man. Like, here's a comedy. Here's a piece of it. Like, would you rather get naked physically or fiscally in front of people? Right? Because you can't fake it till you make it with the bank, but we'd find out who's faking it then. But, you know, most people don't want to hear, oh, I thought it would be bigger about their bank account either, you know?
I mean, dude, you're right. I mean, like, you telling me that comment right there, instantly I was like, you know, growing up, going through what my parents have, you know, share with me, how my own addiction or, you know, whatever with money, my relationship with that. Initially, I would rather go in and go, well, screw it, I'm going to get naked. 100% just get naked because I got to show someone my bank account. But as we've learned through and going in business, like, when can we get to that point? Like, a mutual friend of ours, you know, I think, you know, Pat Flynn, right? You know, he goes through, he's like, look, show me the numbers, right? Just don't tell me how many, like, I hate the people that go, I'm going to show you how to make 7 figures. Show me that you've made 7 figures either for yourself or for somebody else, right? And this is what we see on LinkedIn, especially, is so many people are out there talking about themselves all the time. And honestly, you don't want to be that person in the room always talking about yourself. You're like, oh, there's that guy, Josh, never shuts up about LinkedIn. It's exhausting.
Hey, guys, I'm super funny. Dude, trust me. You either like hear it from someone else or you see it yourself. If I'm talking about it, you're like, why is this douche always talking about himself? You know?
Yeah.
But I know why, because this is the thing. We all think that our bank account needs to be bigger. That's just something, because of these douchebags that post pictures of a rented Ferrari and the Airbnb they pretend is their home. Josh, I call that the financial dick pic, because you have to be a dick to post a picture like that. And look, maybe our money's just not as impressive some days because we didn't get Bitcoin at 100 or we got out of the market at the wrong time. Right. But I promise it's big. It's just shrinkage. It's cold on Wall Street.
What happens?
You know? Yeah. So I think that when we start seeing our value in those external things, and I hate those conversations where you go somewhere and people quote their revenue like it's their profit, or they quote their best month and extrapolate it for 12 months so that we feel bad, like that we're not doing more. And look, this is something that took me a while, because in my 20s, I would be depressed one moment after being exhilarated the moment before because someone said no and didn't become a client, or because someone else had made more money than me that year or whatever. And I was so caught up in the externals, and it's easy to like point out, but when we're in it, like even when I'd see these people becoming crypto multimillionaires while they're eating Cheetos in their mom's basement on a computer that they borrowed, like I had to be like, hey, I know what I'm up to, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Vision helps us get clear so that we don't get distracted and chase money at the expense of ourselves. And I like money. I think it's a really useful tool. I think it's a great resource. But I also think that when we define ourselves by it, it is a losing game that's an unfillable void that no matter how much more you have, someone else has more than you. And what's it for? For some people, like entrepreneurs, it's status. Like, hey, the amount of revenue, the number of employees, the car that we drive, the house that we have. Like, I like certain things, and other things I don't really care about. Like, I used to drive a Bentley, but I like my truck better. I'm a truck guy. I'm from a small coal mining town. Of course I like a truck. I mean, it's not like, it's so funny because my wealthy friends think I'm white trash driving it, and my friends from my hometown don't consider it a truck because it's a Ford Raptor. It's not like so I can't even win. I just do what I do. I do what I enjoy, you know?
Dude, I mean, it's so truthful. I mean, I remember coming up and going through, and I remember the first time when I was like, oh, got my Porsche, then I got my Range Rover, and I was going through this stuff. And honestly, I left California and moved back to Texas because I was losing perspective of what money was. And, one of my biggest, I look back on, I was sitting at the Playboy Club in Las Vegas, the Palms, and I'm sitting there with a buddy of mine. And that whole guys measuring who's bigger, right? And he's like, all right, Josh, I know what you're trying to build right now. He's like, we're drinking, whatever. He's like, I just sold my company for X $1 million. Like, I'll give you the source code for our $1.3 million. And I'm like, all right, that's a good bet. That bet, because I did no due diligence and because I didn't want to do it because I already made the agreement over drinks, right? And kind of going through that, it cost me over $10 million for my stupidity about trying just to measure who's bigger and be able to go through. And it was a massive loss because I didn't go in, and it was right then I was still in that mindset of going, I had to prove, because that was when, what watch was I wearing, right? What was I driving? Let me look at another guy's shoes. That's something you can't fake. And it was exhausting. At that point in time, dude, if I showed you pictures of me back when I was quote unquote wealthy based on everyone else and what they do, that was 10 years ago. I look 10 years older than I do now. And I mean, people wouldn't recognize. I was 45 pounds heavier, never been overweight in my life. My relationships were monetary and no vision of where I was going. I just knew where I was at. And it was all about how much more money I could make. And I mean, we have to be able to shift that perspective. So like with you, what's your number one like tip for someone to be able to start shifting that perspective?
So this is like a muscle that we have to build. And so for me, I feel like, if we are in a place where we're not happy, we have to acknowledge that to someone we know and trust that's a peer or a mentor.
Right.
If we say it to like a parent, they're gonna be, oh, it's not your fault. It's all good. Like, you don't want the person that just like lets you off the hook. You want someone that can ask you the questions you don't know how to ask of yourself. The second thing is, instead of thinking about yourself for a minute, I want you just to call people that you have a good energy with and add value to their life for no other reason than to add value. So you're just building relationship capital. You're just contributing and having an impact. And here's the game changer. Get a hobby. Like, when you get a hobby that isn't about money and that can help you lose track of time and help you feel fulfilled and enjoying, like archery, like I love to shoot my bow. I love to go make some lattes. I'm an amateur professional rookie barista. You know what I'm saying? Like I went and got I do whiskey sommelier. I went to the Wizard Academy, took a course. Yeah. Like I go fishing. Like, find a hobby that allows you to listen to yourself, that gets the noise of the world gone for a minute so you can listen to your intuition about and remember who you are, remember your purpose, and live according to a plan that's aligned with who you are, not a detour because you're hustling to get some money temporarily. And that hobby will break some of these habits. Like, I remember in my early 20s, people would be like, hey, you live in Utah, do you ski? I'm like, no, I have a business. They're like, well, what are your hobbies? I'm like, business. They're like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, do you not understand? I just do business. Like, that was it. And so now there's been like a renaissance in my life where, I'm writing jokes, and I'm going up to my cabin where I've got a Can-Am I can go take for a ride. I go for a walk with my wife, or we put out a 17-foot inflatable screen and watch a movie outdoors when we can build a fire and it's not the dry season. Or like, we just take some downtime. What I find is my uptime is now much more productive.
Right.
Because I'm refreshed, I'm rejuvenated, I'm relaxed, and I'm more engaged. When I had partners that died in 2006 in a plane crash.
Right.
And you know what? I worked relentlessly for 4 straight months. And by the end of that 4th month, just before Thanksgiving, I couldn't make simple decisions. I had nothing left in the tank. I had no creativity. I had no ability to make basic moves. And it's because I was overworked, and there's diminishing marginal productivity. So if you talk to people about what's going on, you add some value to people's life, not just looking for money, and then create a hobby, those 3 things will be a game changer. And the 4th one I'm going to give you in this is find someone to unconditionally pour love into. Who can you unconditionally pour some love into? And yeah, you might have your spouse and your kids. I'm talking about outside of that. Like, I love to do that for my nephew, right? Just unconditionally pour love in him. And you know what? It starts to create a map of how we can love ourselves. And as you do those 4 things, I think it could change the game of how you view money and how you live around money. And then you do have to get the literacy, but you don't have to know everything. You just have to focus instead of diversify. Pick something that allows you to become a better investor and forget the rest. You don't have to do real estate if that's not your thing, or stocks if that's not your thing, or tax liens, or buying businesses, or intellectual property. Find your thing and double down on that one thing. If you do that, you'll have an explosion of wealth, because diversification is for the poor-minded in finance. It's for being diversified and spread thin because you don't know what the hell is going on. And I guess I'll stop there because that's
Dude.
a decent number of things.
Dude, that's straight fire. I mean, it truly is. I mean, I love that. And what, like, a lot of what I do at Standard Authority is like reminding people how to be human again online. And what you're just saying right there is be human, have hobbies, pour love into people, right? Be yourself, right? Don't put yourself in situations that you've been told you need to be able to do. Like, actually just be able to live life. And I mean, to be able to shift your perspective on that, it's something that we lost, right? We had as kids, right? We just lived life without expectation. We just kind of went through. And as we continue to be able to go on, so many expectations were put upon us that we built these new set of laws and rules that we built our lives around as we became adults. And that's what kids do. They're like, okay, cool, I'm going to go run around outside. Well, I wish my kids would go run around outside these days. I can't get my son off the computer, but
dude, same problem with me, man. My 16-year-old, like, you got to be kidding me. It's like a struggle every day.
We started putting out, I was like, I don't know, man, you got to do something. Like, you got to at least take 20 minutes here and there to be able to go through, because like, I remember growing up, like with my parents, like, dude, I just go run around, and like, we moved into a neighborhood that the kids could do that. Now they're like, it's too hot. I don't do hot, Dad. I'm like, you don't do hot. We live in Texas.
God, our sons would get along so well, man. I mean,
oh yeah, it's like it's Minecraft and all these other things all day.
Yep.
But at least I'm trying to keep them on the right games, the right computer stuff that are going through. But brother, with all this, I want to make sure too that everyone understands, like, you are traveling around, and I'm going to share a link with everyone, because you are traveling around doing your comedy. And like, if anyone is listening right now, and I know you are, and you are in any of these cities that are coming up, see Garrett. And the awesome thing is, and I want you to kind of talk about the comedy session a little bit more specifically about what's coming up, and then the 2-day mastermind that you have afterwards, because it's being able to open up someone's perception and then being able to give them the tools. Because I've went through this before at the Wizard Academy, and I mean, and I know it's changed, I know it's evolved, but when I'm looking through it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember it was so impactful for me, and this was years ago. I can only imagine where you are now.
Well, I took that workshop that I did. I'm the Dean of Finance, which is an overinflated title for the Wizard Academy, if you're familiar with the Wizard
everyone,
Academy.
Just in case too, we're not going to Harry Potter.
Yeah, it's Wizard of Ad's Roy Williams Marketing and Business Academy. And yeah. No, I mean, Josh did dress up as a hobbit. It was really weird. Well, he thought we were going to be playing Quidditch or something like that. I don't know.
I remember going to there, and I remember driving the first time, and it has this arrow and it says Wizard Academy points, and it points to an empty field, just because most road signs actually just lead up to the road. And I was like, what's this Harry Potter BS that we're going into?
And I like that I use the Lord of the Rings reference with Harry Potter to show how
and I'm so into it, I didn't even pay attention that we're talking. We this is how old we are, everyone. Yeah. Again, it's two old guys trying to sound like we're cool and we understand these different aspects. We don't.
So I did that workshop, but it is normally a 2.5-day workshop. So I took the best of that 2.5 days and made it 1 day. And then for the last 2.5 years, I've been working on this entire concept of these 4 personas and how they impact every financial decision we make, how they impede us from creating a vision that we want and the value we want to create. And so I'm helping people go through the whole process. So I actually have a one-man show using entertainment to get them there, and the exercises in the workbook, plus how they keep more of what they make by saving on tax, saving on interest, saving on duplicate coverages and costs, like literally putting money in their pocket and improving their cash flow in the most entertaining way you can have in finance. So we're doing 5 workshops as of right now. We've got one in 2021 and the rest coming up in 2022. I think 4 of them are on the calendar right now. And I've got 12 more comedy cities coming up, Austin and Dallas and Las Vegas and Chicago and New York and Boston and Philly and Miami. And so basically the major cities here in the United States. And so if you want to laugh and learn, you can grab tickets to one or both or whatever, and we'd love to have you there.
Well, look, man, I love you. I know how much power that comes from this. So like, anyone watching this right now, I'll tell you, DM me, whatever platform it is, and tell me that you want a ticket. And you know what, for the first 5 people, that go in, Garrett, I'm going to get their ticket too. If they're in one of these cities, I got the ticket minimum. I might buy more. Hell, who knows? We'll see where it goes.
I'll give you a discount code so that you could pay a little bit less on these tickets.
See, Garrett's always like, he's like, oh yeah, we'll get you the affiliate, you get back, you get your money on the backside. But no, seriously, brother, I'm really excited. I've watched the special that you did at least twice already. And it's just me sitting around, so I can't wait to be able to have you here in Austin. I appreciate your time, man, with us today. And is there anything else that anyone needs to know about you right now before we say goodbye?
I would love to share this with you. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to see you in person. And if you're not scared, hug me. I got antibodies. I just got my test. I'm good. I'm not contagious. I had the Rona. And so it was awesome to see people and share with them and have a meal after the show. It feels so nourishing. And so I just love people and I love sharing my passion. And I hope more than anything, I help people to be inspired to do the life that they want to do and live the life that they love and make money less of a burden and less of a complication to get there.
Love that, man. Well, I'm going to be first in line to be able to give you a hug once you get here to Austin, Texas. And we will connect soon. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we will connect with everyone next week on Wednesday. Bye.